Madigan runs the Democratic House for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out.
Madigan's gone, but it was over before he left, so we'll just continue to recall the watershed moment when Madigan departed fondly, I suppose, but the trajectory remains the same. For some reasons not to move out, maybe, huh? Thanks to the administration changeover and our Democrat Socialist members of Congress from Illinois. A reason to stay in Illinois, they say. Let's talk to Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoint Inc., wirepoints.org. Ted, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
We could stay now because we're going to get bailout money with the next COVID relief money dump. And also there's a move to eliminate the SALT caps, the state and local tax deduction caps that were passed as part of the Trump's tax cuts. So everything's going to be right again in Illinois if those two measures come to pass.
Hey, suddenly it's going to be cheaper to live here, and we can cancel the U-Haul order, and here we go.
Yeah, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right.
That fixes everything.
Yeah, Biden of course continues to push his bailout package for Illinois and for the rest of the states. Really, it's there's a lot of money that he wants to send for hurt workers, but he also wants to send a big chunk to states, and the big beneficiaries would be the big blue states that are, of course, keeping their economies closed and bleeding money. That's one. And then, of course, as you say, they want to change some tax rules, and all for the benefit of maybe for the rich in that case.
Well, yeah, and property owners are happy. I mean, come on, they can claim more on their taxes and get more back. But what's this $14 billion if we get it? What's that going to go to, and is that even going to help with anything or even scratch the surface?
Well, they're talking about a $350 billion for states and local governments in this Biden package out of a $1.9 trillion total package. And of course, that's being debated, and I don't think it'll be as large as that. I think it'll be smaller. But if it is $350 billion, it's $14 billion for Illinois, roughly, based on population. And, that certainly would remove pressure for this year, right, because we haven't balanced the budget here in Illinois yet. It's waiting on federal funds, and so that would certainly make Pritzker and those happy that we're waiting on that. But it doesn't do anything, right? It plugs the hole for 1 year for some of the budget at the state level. It gives Chicago clearly some relief money, and hopefully the money can get to the other cities and the rest of the state if that's what it's meant for. But it doesn't solve any problems. All it does is buy a year or two where the politicians can act like they fix things and they balance budgets.
Well, why should anybody oppose the funny money that Illinois could receive from the federal government? Why should anybody oppose repealing the cap on state and local tax deductions?
Well, yeah, the other one is the big one, is the one you're talking about, the SALT deductions. In the 2017 tax cut that was passed, states like Illinois and others, well, everybody got hurt by a limit on how much can be deducted for your state and local taxes, including property taxes. And since we have the highest property taxes in the country, well, that hurt a lot of people in Illinois, especially the ones with the bigger houses. Well, if they repeal that part, that will help places like Illinois, California, New Jersey, those high tax states. Maybe not California, but New Jersey, New York. But that's all political game right now because Schumer and Durbin and others realize that that's hurting a lot of their elite political supporters. So they want to give them support, I think.
Well, I understand what they're doing, but I mean, is from a policy perspective, shouldn't we cheer that on? Shouldn't this be a moment of everyone coming together to cheer on the repeal of the SALT cap?
No, again, these are just costs. We all pay federal taxes, so we think we're getting free what they used to call Obama money, right? We're just getting free money from the federal government, but it comes at a cost. One is it's higher taxes, or it's either more debt, or we're printing more money, and at some point we have to pay for it. So these are failed policies.
And then we have to worry about what's going on in the classroom. Can you explain to people this culturally responsive K through 12 teaching mandate?
Yeah, so this
is really a head scratcher.
We've written about it, and we've seen massive traction across the state. People didn't know this, but the State Board of Education wrote some new rules on teacher standards, teacher certification standards. And what it does is it forget critical thinking. It's all about critical race theory, and it tries to politicize the classrooms by asking teachers to teach progressive values and embrace progressive values. And it has all kinds of language that I think should really concern any parent. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. You shouldn't want your classrooms politicized. But that's what these rules do, and they have all kinds of things about talking about systems of oppression, things that have nothing to do with math, reading, science, and all to do with politics and identity politics primarily.
I got to tell you, I mean, people will learn about this just in time to watch it be signed into law. But here's the problem I have in listening to these milquetoast ninny Republicans express concerns about this. Oh, geez, this is problematic and so on and so forth. Blah, blah, blah. First of all, you don't need to codify it because it's already ubiquitous in classrooms around the state. By the way, we're in Black Lives Matter week, in case nobody noticed. If you didn't notice, then you have no idea what's going on in K through 12 education in Illinois and the country, but let's just talk about Illinois. That's number one. So, yeah, if they can codify it, great, we'll codify it, and then you won't have any stragglers. If they don't codify it, there's no victory. There's no victory. It's going on. It's going on right now as we're talking, for goodness sakes.
Well,
yeah, well, it's certainly going on, Dan, but I wouldn't ignore the rules, and it's only because...
Why? They do.
Well, yeah, they always ignore the rules, but the point is that once they codify this thing, the certifications really mean that it's going to squeeze out any, critically thinking teacher because it will be one that's required to teach progressive values. So
good.
Right there,
they can go to private school then, and you have a continuation of going galt from the government school system for any teacher that is actually interested in instilling a love of learning into children. I mean, honestly, we are so timid in the face of the rapacious left. They go through the school system and every other institution like Sherman through Atlanta, and we're arguing about, we can stop their codification of what they're already doing. Please.
Well, I think, Dan, yes, they kids can and absolutely should go to public schools. You're going to see, private schools, and you're going to see that. The other thing they're going to do is just leave the state. And so, yeah, maybe the argument is the faster people leave, the sooner we get real reforms here, right? But in the meantime, I think people need to be aware of what's happening here. It's just being, I think the codification does matter only because it just makes it easier for them to squeeze the people they want squeezed out, and it forces other people to either have to move out, change lives, and
well,
I get it. We're bailing out the Titanic with an eyedropper. I mean, it's just it's so overwrought from conservatives who are always late to the dance to the extent that they exist in any organized fashion here.
But with this, if this goes into effect, if this is signed into law, they could take our kids on field trips to BLM marches and Antifa rallies. That's part of this, and that's just.
You don't think they could now?
No, they can't because they would need a permission slip signed, and I would never sign that permission slip. Dan.
Well, most of the parents and most of the leafy suburbs, not to mention the city, would. So okay, so you're accomplishing it for your kids. They're going to be out of school in 5 minutes. Big deal. You're not changing anything. There is no system change here because there is no attempt to change the way people think. None. We're not making arguments. We're playing defense in the fourth quarter after not taking the field for the first three.
Well, hey, Dan, I'd say we still have to take the field no matter what. And I'll tell you this, we could have said that about the progressive tax just a few months ago. And a vote, in the vote they had 97-3. They could have won that. People pushed back. So at some point, listen, at some point, and you know this well, and I've seen it across countries, not necessarily states, people finally get fed up. A lot of them leave. Yep. A place can fall apart. But the people who remain, some of them will finally fight back, and I think that's the moment we're talking about.
Yeah,
we may not be there yet.
I hear you, but I also know in 2020 you had a Deus ex machina called the pandemic that changed the calculus for that graduated state income tax. So people are way overreading that, which, frankly, 53.47, even in a pandemic, to only go down by that margin. People to way over extrapolating what that means for the future of Illinois, like there's some revolt afoot that is frankly just not afoot. I mean, but okay.
But don't you think it's a start? I mean, I thought that was a reflection on Governor Pritzker and the job that he's been doing.
Yeah, no, I'm all right. Everybody can be Don Quixote all day long. It's fine with me, but I'm just telling you, you're tilting at windmills. Go ahead and disagree and tilt. Fine, I don't care, but I'm just not going to take that position because it just bears no resemblance to the landscape. But okay. Speaking of high taxes and this revolt going on, we pay high taxes because we get such great government. We have competence in exchange for the high cost of living, right? Like with respect to vaccine distribution, Ted?
Oh, yeah, that's going really well, too, right? We rank 36th in the country right now in the distribution of the vaccine. We've gotten about 1.7 million doses, but we've only distributed 1 million, so we're about a little over 50-something%. And it's been a disaster, and that again comes back to how poorly we're run. Elderly people, the ones who die from this virus can't get the vaccine. You're seeing it everywhere. I spent about 2 hours this weekend with my mom just trying to sign up for anything. You can't find anything. There's no clarity. It's a disaster. Nursing homes still can't get it, and yet I know you're seeing, of course, the political elite getting their shots. You're hearing about all kinds of people getting their shots. How do they get them? I have no idea. But elderly people over their 80s who are the ones to die from this virus can't get them, and there's no excuse.
I asked Governor Pritzker about that because certain schools had vaccinations on site, private schools and some Catholic schools. And how did that happen? How did they get their hands on those vaccines? And he had no answer.
There's no clarity. There's no clarity at all. They can't communicate this, and if you think about it, it's a simple distribution. They should do Operation Warp Speed at the state level to figure out how to get these things out there. But it's all about back to Dan's point. It's all about equity. They're so concerned about who might get the shot, who should get the shot. They're putting 20 and 30-year-old ahead of the elderly, and it's never going to work that way.
Yeah, and they serve their constituency, and there is no party for the other constituency, and so it will go on and on and on. At some point, you're probably right, Ted, it can't go on forever, Stein's law, but forever's a long time, and we're only on this mortal coil for a short time, so I don't know who wants to dig in for forever with hope as a strategy. That seems like whatever constitutes the Republican Party's approach. But, Ted, I appreciate your optimism, and I appreciate your fight, and thanks, as always, for joining us.
Hey, Dan, it's always really dark. The skies are always really dark before they open up
I've
again.
heard that before.
So,
No,
Yeah. Right. They're
always darkest before the lights go out for good.
And
exactly.
the fight always has to continue, right?
Exactly.
We see it all this pendulum swing.
I hear you. All right, Ted. All right. Ted Dabrowski, President, wirepoints.org. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Since we've all been spending so much time at home, you probably figured out all the ways your house doesn't work for today's new lifestyle. Moving isn't an option, so why not consider remodeling? Maybe you need an open-plan kitchen with a school area, a flexible 3-seasons room, or a finished basement. Advanced Design Studio can help you create the reimagined house that works with how your family lives now. Providing positive remodeling experiences for nearly 30 years, Advanced Design's common sense remodeling process makes remodeling predictable, averting delays and preventing budget overruns to produce a rewarding remodeling experience. Join us remotely Saturday, February 27th at 10 a.m. for Virtual Trends in Design, where you can experience hot new colors, learn about home style trends, and discover all the latest products for your home renovation project. Visit advanceddesignstudio.com and click on events to sign up, or call 847-836-2600. That's 847-836-2600. Advanced Design Studio, wishing you a happy new year.
For years, you've heard the familiar name of Turnkey IT. They've told their story about successfully providing IT solutions for hundreds of Chicagoland businesses, many of which are also supporters of AM 560. But now Turnkey turns a new chapter in their business, Turnkey Consulting. Yes, Turnkey Consulting came out of the need for so many small businesses looking for help to grow their business beyond just networking systems. Turnkey's team of consulting experts have decades of real-world experience in both corporate and small business. They know how to make an immediate impact to drive your company forward, no matter the size or industry. So get started today with Turnkey's Opportunity Scorecard.